Good morning. How is it Thursday already? I don't know about you, but I am starting to feel the Christmas stress creeping up a little bit. And maybe it was the last time I spoke to you as well, but now it feels a hell of a lot more real. Is it not? Exactly, it is. It is this time in 1 month, we will be having our Christmas morning opening presents and hopefully having a little glass of champagne or mimosa and some bacon sandwiches. That's how I like to spend Christmas morning while the children go crazy with their presents. So that's very exciting. But I have just been reminded about how much stuff there is still left to organise and sort out. So I really wanted to come in here today to talk to you about what I am seeing in the industry and why this is a super, super exciting time to be building or growing a mind, body, and meditation, a breathwork practice and business. Why it's a really perfect time to be starting your training in any form of mind, body practice. And if you look at the moment in the media, if you're looking for it, you will see it everywhere on social media, on TV, in magazines. It's everywhere. This mind body practice is really starting to become mainstream. And we've been talking about this in our Exhale communities with our instructors and also in here for a very, very long time. And actually, when the pandemic hit, there was part of me that worried that momentum that we were starting to build in terms of people getting excited and getting interested in mind, body, practice, and spirituality. I thought maybe the pandemic initially was going to slow that down, but 100% it has, and the proof is in the pudding now. I'm going to talk you through it in a minute. It's actually accelerated that growth. So if you are watching on the replay or if you join me live, please do let me know who it is. Let me know your comments as well. It's also always so much better to do these lives when we have some feedback. And also, even like I say, I always say this, even if you're watching on the replay, please do still comment as if you're watching it live, because this community is about you. I come up with these ideas, and a lot of what I talk to you about is my observation of this community, but also of my clients and of the world that we're living in at the moment. But in an ideal world, I'd love to be able to answer your questions and give you lives and wisdom and advice and mentorship, really based on what you lot need. So let me know what, if this is helpful, but also what else you would like to see. So if you've been in here a while, you might have heard of me talk about the Age of Aquarius. So we are well and truly in the Age of Aquarius now. So this is a time period in which it's been prophesied and predicted, especially in Eastern traditions. Kundalini yoga in particular has been talking about this for a while, but this age of awakening, this age of, the average Joe blogs on the street waking up to, I'm not talking about conspiracy theories, and a lot of the time people talk about being woke is all about seeing the truth of what's happening with the government and all that kind of stuff. I don't subscribe to that at all. I think that's real fear-based teaching, if I'm absolutely honest. What I believe awakening to be is awakening to the power that resides within you, that power that never went away, the power that you were born with, but that society and our families and this kind of conditioning of our culture, we're like trained to forget all of that wisdom and all of that power that exists within us. We have these, we're starting to see now, in terms of the research that's being done, that there is so much science that backs up the fact that we have intuition, that we can use it, that we can work with it. There's also science that's backing up the idea that, we can create our own realities. This stuff is really starting to come to fruition. But You know, I feel like at the moment for me, the Age of Aquarius is all about people remembering their strength, remembering their power, remembering that they can be, do, or say whatever feels good for them. And that, it's giving people permission to drop the timeline on when things should be done, how things should be done, dropping the judgments, working for you rather than living your life governed by what society wants for you, and it's also about reconnecting to that wisdom that resides within us. We have access to our own intuition, as I've already said, and science is now backing that up. But we have also access to wisdom from the spirit realms, from our spirit guides and teams, and also from, for me, it's God, but for you, it might be universe, it might be source, it might be spirit, however you want to describe it. But there is access to this intelligence that is bigger than just you or I. And the Age of Aquarius is this time where people are becoming more aware of all this kind of stuff. There's this slow awakening to this magic, and I think it's a really beautiful time period. But it's also going to mean that a lot of social constructs, a lot of things will change, let's just say it that way. But to keep it really positive, it's an amazing time to be learning mind body practice. The second reason why people are so excited and interested in breathwork right now, and actually to give you the an idea of how popular this stuff is, there's I'm seeing it cropping up all over the place. There's somewhere near me that does an open water swim, like cold water immersion and breathwork, and you cannot get on those classes. You cannot. It's free. It just sells out. Like as soon as it's on there, it's gone. And I'm seeing people like Adele this morning. I don't know if you see my stories over on Instagram, but Adele was talking about her healing journey, how she's got through her divorce and, her journey to finding herself. And if you've listened to that album, her new album, it's insanely good. It's so beautiful. It's particularly the song Hold On. It just speaks. If you've not heard that yet, please do go and listen to that, especially if you've ever experience that sense of losing yourself, that sense of deep sorrow and grief and pain for whatever reason, and you're out the other side. Just watch that, listen to that, because that just talks about the strength and just the patience and allowing pain to wash over and through you and be part of your experience rather than the resistance. I could go on about that song. That's a whole nother live on its own, but it's so good. But she was talking about how a lot of her healing journey, how she was able to write that beautiful album and stay strong despite what she's been through is, a lot of sound healing, a lot of meditation. And you're seeing people like Holly Willoughby have set up something. She set up a company called Wild Moon, I think it's called, and that's all the spiritual stuff. Fern Cotton's got a book out at the moment, which is all about the woo, like connecting to source, to spirit. There's so much of this stuff that's coming out in mainstream media. So it makes absolute sense. These are the people that shape our communities. These are the people that kind of are change makers. You're seeing it there. What you really want to be doing is riding this wave of excitement around it. The other aspect that you've got to look at as well is that the pandemic forced people to look after their health, and working with the breath as an example. Today I'm focusing on the breath because it's one element of the things that we teach on our teacher training courses, but we also obviously teach mindful movement and meditation as well, and working with the heart and the wisdom of the heart. But the breath is amazingly powerful in terms of improving your health and your well-being. Just simply changing the way that you breathe can have a massive impact on your physiology. And it can also really help, we'll talk more about that in a minute, but it can really help reset your nervous system, which is amazingly important, so important off the back of the pandemic, because literally we have been living, whether you're aware of it or not, because of the way that our nervous systems seek information from other people, and the way that a lot of how we feel and what state we put ourselves in, and how well our bodies and our systems work is based on our perception of our own safety. In the middle of a pandemic, whether you like it or not, or whether you're aware of it or not, you are going to be putting your body into a state of stress. It's happening whether we like it or not. So we can use the breath to help reset that nervous system. But also during the pandemic, people really wanted to find a source of hope, a source of some sort of wisdom or something that was going to tell them it was going to be okay. They were looking for this sense of connection. It's a human need, it's a primal need. We had all of that taken away from us. And still now we're coming out the back of it thinking, how do I want to live my life? What's going on for me? Where is the hope? Where is the source that's telling me, I'm okay, that I'm going to get through this? And off the back of that, a lot of people are searching, the soul searching. They are discovering meditation as a way to connect with the soul and to hear ancient wisdom, but also to hear themselves. This is a spiritual practice. Breathwork, meditation, all those mind-body practices, it is a spiritual practice. But primarily, it's about hearing yourself amongst the noise of society. For once, it's so busy. We're so busy. There's so much chatter. There's so many things for us to do that we can quite easily lose our own way and lose our identity, and also lose our ability to hear what we want to do and what's right for us rather than what's right for everybody else. So that is why I believe now we're starting to see it come out in mainstream media. And I think people are really starting to understand the benefits of the breath. So I'm just going to go through a couple of those now. Again, this could be a week-long live if I let it. But I'm just going to start with a couple of things. Like I said, breath for me and working with the breath. At Exhale, we teach one really deeply relaxing breath in most of our sessions. We are introducing a second type of breath. And then with the kids, we give them loads of different techniques. So we make it super duper fun. But primarily we work with one deeply relaxing breath. And we work with that for a reason, because the breath is, connected and involved in, and one of the big factors that influences our nervous system. And our nervous system basically shapes everything about how we show up in the world. It shapes how we think, it shapes how we feel, it shapes how we behave, it shapes our perception of what's happening to us. So if you can allow your nervous system to work for you rather than against you, you're going to see massive transformation in your life. And what the breath does, it allows us to reset the nervous system so we can operate in what we call the ventral vagal system. And the breath that we use activates the vagus nerve. So I don't want to get too technical, because we cover a whole workshop on, in fact, there's several workshops talking about the vagus nerve and the breath and all of that we cover in our teacher training. And I certainly haven't got time to go through it in depth or in any way that you would particularly understand it. But just know that the vagus nerve is super, super important in terms of resetting that nervous system and allowing you to operate in that ventral vagal system where we feel good, where our self-talk is kind, where we're able to see the bigger picture, where we're able to think more positively. The nervous system is kind of like the starting point for how you're thinking, for how you're feeling, for how you're behaving. So if we can activate the vagus nerve, which we do through this beautiful breathwork pattern that we teach in all of our Exhale classes, and that forms the foundation of our teachings and our teacher training course, we're able to allow our clients to access that. We teach them how to access that state of calm, and that's that reset emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Because when we are able to, the vagus nerve for me is like a gateway to this beautiful state where we move not from just feeling okay, we start to move to feeling alive, where we start to feel connected to all that magic that I spoke about. This idea that I have this magic that runs through my veins, that I'm connected to those that have passed on, I'm connected to the wider web of my spirit team and God and all that kind of stuff. That's how it works for me. So it moves you from feeling okay to feeling alive. It can move you from feeling, creative to inspired and motivated. It can move you from, like if you understand the word awe, it's a mixture of fear and wonder, and quite often I get that when I go into a church, or when, you see something miraculous happen, like when you watch a baby being born, or there's something just stunningly beautiful, like the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen. You might describe that as awe, something that's just so big and so ordered and just so immense that you can't quite take it in. We're able to notice those details and start to move towards those more states of like, life is beautiful. And it starts with the nervous system and activating the vagus nerve. It moves us from confidence to courage. And what's really amazing, what we're seeing, is that more and more and more people are trying breath work, and they're activating their vagus nerve, and they're feeling all of that stuff. And then they're telling their friends, and they're telling their family, and they're telling their communities. And more people are wanting to work in this way and live in this way and becoming open to that sense of not just, before we always used to have to sell breath work and meditation and mindfulness on the back of like a real science-based stuff. This is going to make you feel better physically. But people are actually wanting the magic. They're wanting the ritual. They're wanting that sense of mysticism. There's this whole turn towards modern mystics, and understanding actually that, I saw a quote the other day, and it was talking all around how, don't seek what the ancients saw, don't seek the ancients' methods or something like that, but seek what they sought. So it's all about, we live in a modern society, we live in a modern world, and using these techniques in a modern world. So rather than trying to go back to what was, in that really simplistic life, it's like working with what is and bringing these magical techniques and this ancient wisdom and this ancient technology, bringing that into our modern day life and running with it and using that to improve our modern day lives. Not taking things away from us, not trying to be something that we're not trying to be gurus, just trying to integrate this into the way that we live right now. And the other thing for me, the other reason why breath work is so powerful and so gorgeous, and why so many people are raving about it at the moment, is because it creates this unification of body and mind. It creates a space for the soul to reside. And when unfortunately, there is so much trauma that exists in a modern day society, and a lot of us have experienced trauma on some level, and there's no range of like, it's a big trauma, it's a little trauma. Trauma is trauma. Some things triggered you, some things been distressing to you in the moment, and it's too big for you to get a hold of. It's too big for you to be able to take in one piece. And it could be anything, it's different for everybody based on your window of tolerance, but also based on your previous experience, based on your ancestral trauma that's coming through, all that kind of stuff. But what usually happens is, if we experience any form of trauma, we tend to disconnect from the body. What breathwork can do is allow us to reconnect and heal that. We have stuck energy in the body. Whenever we experience pain or suffering or grief or sorrow or something big, an overwhelming emotion, and we don't feel it, we suppress it, we hide it, we deny it, it becomes stuck in our systems. And what breath work, I'm focused on breath work today, but meditation can do this, mind body practice can do this, mindful movement practice can do this, and Reiki and all these other things can do it. But it helps you move the stuck energy through your body. And I think what's beautiful about breathwork is it helps you to reconnect really gently, really softly. And you don't have to do all this crazy stuff that you might see at some breathwork workshops. We just use with activating the vagus nerve as a healing response. Easy, really, really deeply, truly relaxing. And we teach kids this from age 2, it's super easy. And it just creates that unification of what's happening in the body and the mind, and creates this space for the soul to speak. It stills you enough. And that's part of that comes through from what it's doing to the nervous system, but part of that comes through because it's connecting you to how the soul speaks. The soul talks to us in lots of different ways, through our heart, also through our breath as well. But what I really want to talk about is the final reason why I think this could be so amazing for so many people, and why I really, like, my passion is trying to get as many people as possible to start or grow their mind body businesses, their meditation businesses, their breathwork businesses, because working with the breath is the gateway to manifesting a life that you desire really quickly, really easily. And that's because the diaphragm in Eastern traditions is seen as the gateway between heaven and earth. So what we find is that those people that, like average Joe on the street, breathe just up to the chest. Okay, what we really want to do in order to manifest is use the tummy and the chest together, and I'll tell you why. And it's because of that diaphragm, that gateway between heaven and earth. So what we find is that those people that are just breathing into the chest, what they tend to display and talk to us about is that they have all these ideas, but they've got all this stuff up here. They're very busy in their mind. They want to go on to the next thing. It's nothing is enough. I want to build more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Something that I'm really passionate about is communicating this stuff in such a way that even if you recognize that within yourself, it doesn't make you wrong. It makes you human. Our humanness dictates that we operate like this, connecting to the breath and hearing this stuff and working with these ancient technologies that allows you to also connect to your divinity as well. We were equally human, we are equally divine. And what I'm really passionate about is that you understanding that if you hear me say, people that breathe just into the chest, as an example, struggle to bring their ideas into reality, let them have any longevity. They're quite flighty. They're on to the next thing, or they feel stuck, like nothing's really happening for me. It's not your fault. It is your humanness. It is your conditioning, and don't use this as another stick to beat yourself with. This is about you going, do you know what? It's okay for me to be a human being. And I can only know what I know. And sometimes we learn this stuff and then we don't do it. And that's also our humanness. That's also that resistance. Our body, our brains, our humanness wants to keep us safe. And part of keeping us safe is keeping us exactly where we are, living exactly the same life, the same experience, having the same patterns, the same thought processes, even if they hurt, even if they cause us pain. It wants to keep us here. And again, that's not your fault. So it's just about, what can I do to nourish and nurture myself so that I'm able to see my divinity on top of my humanness. So people that breathe into the chest, that's what we typically find. That's how they display themselves, and that's how their life plays out for them. That's how they talk to us. That's the language that they use. You might be able to see that in yourself or in your friends, your family, your clients. But people that breathe just into the tummy, so quite a lot of people who do a lot of yoga, they forget about the chest, so they just focus on this diaphragmatic breath, this belly breath, and what happens there is that they're very grounded, which is great. They're very calm, they're very practical, they're very straight, they get things done. That's kind of like the masculine energy, and we've got the feminine energy at the top. But what we really want to do is get ourselves into a state where we are using both the chest and the tummy together. And it's a 3D movement. So it's not just at the front, it's at the back as well. In our breathing techniques that we teach on our teacher training programs, that one that I was telling you about before, where we activate the vagus nerve, what that allows you to do is breathe into the tummy and into the chest. We breathe into the tummy first, and then it rises up into the chest and releases through the mouth. And why that's so beautiful is it allows you to have all these ideas, but then it grounds them into your reality as well. So, when you are thinking about, you might be using affirmations, you might be journaling, you might be doing full moon rituals, or new moon rituals would be more appropriate for manifestation, because in the full moon, we release what's no longer serving us. And in the new moon, we bring in that which we want to see in our lives, And why not add in some breath work with it? Why not introduce your clients to that kind of breath to allow them to really get a handle on how manifestation works? And like I say, there's so many other ways to do it as well. There's so many other mind-body practices, like working with the heart, working with meditation, working with mindful movement. We teach all of that on our teacher training courses as well. But this is just focusing on the breath for today. So I'm going to go, because I've been on about 25 minutes. So that is why I think now is the perfect time for you to grow your business if you've already got one, or expand your knowledge, expand your learning. Or if you've not started, but you're thinking, I'd love to be able to work in this kind of industry, but I just don't know where to start. Now is the time to do it. Ride that wave of that Age of Aquarius before it gets too crowded a marketplace, and there'll always be people available and wanting to learn and wanting that mentorship. Remember that spiritual practice and mind body practice is always meant to be delivered through a mentor. It'll get to the point where it's just commonplace, but people will still want to learn. But what I'm saying about learning now is that you can ride that wave of excitement and it be super easy in terms of accessing more eyes on your business, because it's everywhere. So as always, we have our teacher training programs are available to book now. You can book them through the website. You can send me a message if you want to ask any questions. We have so many instructors in this group as well who'd be happy to answer your questions. Over the next couple of weeks, we've got some exciting things happening. I have not been on as much this week because I am working on something that's going to be totally free for you, which is really exciting. January, we've got some really, really cool goal setting workshops coming up, working with all of this stuff, using, doing a bit of manifestation with the heart and with the breath. And we've also got our amazing 3-day challenge, plus our kids and family challenge coming up as well. We've got loads and loads going on. But for now, that's all I have to say. So thank you for joining me. Like I say, if you're watching on the replay, please do let us know, and have a beautiful weekend. See you later.